Before today's sky fully blushes, you face the same hush that often cloaks dawn, uncertainty about the steps ahead, yet hear this gentle whisper calling you deeper than opened eyes. In the pale light, a listening breeze brushes curtains, inviting surrender of burdens you carried through the night, so the Spirit might fill you afresh. God, your steadfast refuge, deserves praise for shielding you when shadows lingered and promising courage for the path unfolding. Here, you release agendas, unclench worries, and tune your inner ear for His voice guiding your first quiet breath. Peace Psalm 57 and Ave. Let daybreak rouse your inmost being. Let melody rise with morning light, anchoring hope before tasks begin. Do you dare entrust that lingering fear about provision, that silent ache for belonging, to the One who spun sunrise out of dark? Will you welcome His assurance that praise can accompany every ordinary moment? Now, as your heart grows still, we step into the first movement of awakening. The horizon has not yet broken wide, yet faint ribbons of amber paint the edges of your window pane, coaxing your thoughts from night's dim corridors to the bright threshold of promise. You linger in that half-lit pause where clocks feel slow and the world seems willing to wait while you meet its maker. In this margin between sleeping and striving, you notice how even the sparrow tests its voice, soft, tremulous, before daring a full song. So, too, your spirit stirs, sensing that God's first language is stillness. You breathe deeply. The air carries a hint of jasmine and distant sea salt, tangible evidence that the earth is already participating in a hymn you are invited to join. Listen, the quiet around you is not emptiness, but sacred chamber, resonant with possibility. Yesterday's headlines and half-finished lists have no passport here. Their noise fades like stars relinquishing the sky to daybreak. Each inhale gathers hope. Each exhale releases remnants of fear. You notice how light begins its slow ascent across the floorboards, tracing lines that appear to storyboard the new mercies scripted for this calendar page. Nothing rushes. The cadence of dawn insists that fulfillment does not bloom by force, but by gentle unveiling. Remember the promise. Lamentations 3:7-2. 23rd morning carries fresh compassion. Night's endings cannot cancel love's renewal. Let these mercies unfurl across your memory like petals warmed by sun. With that assurance, you accept the invitation to stand, perhaps barefoot, feeling cool tile ground your racing mind. Whisper, speak, Lord, and allow the smallest syllable to echo louder than yesterday's doubts. Your soul, once muted by fatigue, begins to hum in consonance with unseen chores. You picture angels drawing curtains of light aside, heralding divine presence into the ordinary hallway of your life. Yet awakening is more than sensory, it is choosing allegiance. You align your posture with gratitude, thanking God for the fragile spark of consciousness entrusted to you again. You consent to be taught how dawn itself can tutor faith, shadows retreat without fanfare, birds rehearse trust before sustenance appears, and the horizon opens gradually, never all at once, so eyes may adjust to glory. You realize the first victory of the day is gentle attentiveness. To perceive God before you perceive demands, to savor light before scrolling headlines, to let wonder crown tasks still unscheduled. So you nod to heaven's quiet counsel, move at dawn's unforced pace. Let the warmth now touching your fingertips remind you that grace arrives patiently, unfurling with steady glow until the whole room is bright. Even if clouds later gather, this early revelation remains. The one who authors morning is also authoring you, writing hope into margins you thought empty. And as the sun finally lifts its full face, you carry the whisper with you, a seed of peace that will bloom through every meeting and hallway walk you complete today. You settle into the gentle hush that follows dawn's first crescendo, noticing how outward quiet exposes the inner auditorium where countless thoughts rehearse their lines. In that hidden chamber, you discover overlapping echoes, memories, forecasts, half-heard anxieties, vying for the microphone of your attention. Rather than forcing silence, you allow every sound to soften, like waves receding over polished stones, until a spacious calm emerges. The ceiling fan turns in measured rhythm, encouraging your pulse to match its steady cadence. An unseen bird trills once, then waits, modeling patient dialogue. Here, listening is not passive but courageous, a willing descent beneath surface chatter to the deep aquifer where God's whisper courses. You remember Elijah's story. As 1 Kings 19:12, God did not shout over the wind or fire. He arrived as a delicate murmur, proving true power rarely demands volume. Receive that lesson. Volume is not authority, clarity is. So you breathe slow, letting each exhale disperse fog that blurs divine direction. You picture your mind as a lake at sunrise, ripples subsiding until mountains reflect perfectly on its surface. In that mirror, still heart, God's question surfaces. Can you trust my guidance more than your own urgency? You nod over the water, feeling the weight of restless control slip like pebbles to the lake bed. Now, trace today's concerns as if outlining constellations across the dawn, blue sky of your thoughts. An upcoming decision, a strained friendship, the fatigue that shadows every ambition. One by one, you name them without judgment. The way a physician records symptoms before prescribing healing. Naming is powerful. It delivers worries from swirling mist into defined shape, making room for holy counsel. You then imagine handing each constellation to God's expansive night vault, where stars are kept in orbit by His wisdom. Nothing drifts beyond His calculation. Your ears may not register audible words, yet perception grows sure. A gentle conviction aligns your heartbeat with promises long anchored in Scripture. Remember, John 7:2-7, sheep recognize the shepherd's tone, following because familiarity breeds safety rather than fear. You belong to that flock. Recognition is your birthright. Even if distractions imitate guidance, your soul senses counterfeit resonance. So you test every inner sentence by its fruit. Does it usher peace, evoke courage, kindle love? If not, you release it, trusting that the shepherd speaks in harmony with his character. In this interior sanctuary, prayers take the shape of listening more than pleading. You resist the impulse to fill gaps with urgent petitions. Instead, you lend the gaps your entire attention, confident God fills them with presence. Sometimes His answer is an image, a lamp illuminating one small step, rather than a floodlight revealing the whole path. Sometimes it is a holy nudge. You reach out, apologize first, rest this afternoon. Whatever form it takes, you receive it as manna, sufficient for today, not tomorrow's speculation. Before rising, you practice one final discipline, gratitude for guidance not yet visible. By thanking in advance, you align your will with trust. You whisper, "Your voice will meet me in meetings, commutes, grocery aisles," declaring everyday spaces potential burning bushes. And as you open your eyes fully, inner listening becomes outer obedience. The hush of dawn translates into deliberate steps, attuned to heaven's quiet rhythm. The day begins, but clamour no longer rules. You carry within you a tuned instrument, ready to resonate with every soft command of love. You feel the morning advancing, not in hurried strides, but in widening warmth across your shoulders, persuading every tense muscle to unclench its nightly guard. This is the hour to yield, not as defeat but as release, letting your inner fists open like petals that finally trust the sun. You picture burdens as stones you once believed necessary for strength, expectations that weigh pockets, regrets tucked beneath ribs, the quiet pride that resists help. One by one you lower them beside the still path, hearing each thud echoed by a lighter heartbeat. The air, newly freed of heavy cargo, moves gently through your chest, reminding you how breathing was designed for ease. Imagine a stream threading through an alpine meadow, clear because nothing blocks its flow. So your spirit clears as you confess hidden clutter to God. Confession here is not courtroom dread, but riverside friendship. You speak, and water carries debris downstream, never to be retrieved. 1 Peter 5:7, cast every care, yes, each unnamed concern, into his vast hands. They were scarred to hold your weight without strain. You obey this invitation, not by forcing emotion, but by choosing honesty. You know the worry staining yesterday's smile, the ambition that edged out kindness, the fear of never being enough. The sentence itself feels like exhaling stale air from a closed room, making space for clean breeze. Surrender also touches your schedule. You stretch open the day planner of your mind, watching pages flutter like white flags. Meetings, errands, meals, all ordinary, yet you slide them toward God's side of the table. Arrange them, you whisper, that each line may serve love rather than ego. In return, you sense a quiet arrangement unfolding, perhaps a margin here for listening, a reshuffle there for rest, an unexpected appointment with compassion during the ride home. What once appeared rigid becomes pliable when placed in hands skillful at weaving purpose through hours. Even your identity meets surrender. You recognize how titles, employee, parent, student, can press like rigid armor, limiting movement. Today, you step out of armor and into sonship, daughterhood, sacred belovedness. Titles still exist, but they drape instead of chain, shaped by affection rather than performance. This new garment breathes. It gifts freedom to fail, to ask, to grow. Each task you later touch will carry fragrance of this liberty, inviting others to remove their heavy suits of self-validation. Consider Jesus' gentle claim. Matthew 11:29-30, his yoke, custom-fitted ease. Partners toil with rest, prayer with action, surrender with sturdy progress. You accept the yoke by matching pace, refusing to sprint past grace or lag behind mercy. If midday summons competing priorities, you will remember dawn's negotiation. Nothing demanded remains yours alone. Everything yielded returns transformed. Even challenges become solvable puzzles when carried with one who designed both puzzle and solution. Before stepping from this sanctuary, you enact a final gesture, palms upturned, symbol of both letting go and receiving. You feel invisible threads connecting your open hands to heaven's supply, assuring you'll not walk empty. Gratitude wells, unexpected but fitting, like clear spring bubbling where stones once blocked flow. You thank God for lifting weight you mistook for duty, for exchanging anxiety with peace substantial enough to share. Now, lighter and focused, you move toward breakfast, commute, conversation, carrying surrender not as loss, but as hidden strength, a quiet confidence that anything offered back to Creator returns, multiplied in joy. You step into this moment, like wide grasslands greeting the first sweep of spring air. The space inside your chest widening as invisible currents circulate through every hidden corridor. Where surrender cleared the rooms of your heart, presence now arranges furniture of purpose, placing chairs of patience, lamps of discernment, tables sturdy enough for unexpected guests. The atmosphere feels charged yet gentle, as though each particle carries a private benediction written solely for you. You inhale deliberately, sensing life drift through marrow and mind, persuading tight places to unfold. Nothing remains stagnant. Everything stirs with promise of sacred activity. Imagine yourself at the shoreline, tide advances, salt misting your face, foam curling around ankles before retreating. So the spirit moves, unpredictable yet trustworthy, rolling over barriers and returning with gifts you could never gather alone. You need not choreograph this surge. You simply stay present, letting waves of assurance rinse away any residue of doubt. What arrives is not loud spectacle, but quiet saturation, seeping into motivations, coloring thoughts with gentle hues of reverence, turning routine into sacrament. Your senses sharpen under this soft anointing. Colors brighten on the lone bloom at the sill. Distant traffic dims to background percussion. Even your pulse adopts a steadier cadence. Awareness itself becomes worship. You utter no petition, yet gratitude ripples across muscle and memory, an internal hymn without syllables. In receiving posture, you discover partnership. God no longer feels like an external supervisor, but a breath within each task, guiding how you parent with empathy, negotiate with honesty, study with curiosity. Every sphere of influence becomes canvas for this artistry. Filling is never meant for hoarding. Fullness naturally overflows. You picture a river after snowmelt, banks stretching just enough to irrigate thirsty fields before settling back into course. Likewise, fresh grace seeks outward paths, toward coworkers who need quiet encouragement, neighbors waiting for a kind greeting, digital spaces craving dignified tone. The generosity now stirring in you will travel through smiles, quick texts, patient listening, shaping atmospheres long after your words fade. Mission is not extra weight, but joyful spillway of abundance. To remain pliable, you adopt rhythms of micro breaths throughout the day, brief pauses between conversations, slow sips of water, a glance at sky fragments framed by tall windows. Each intermission recalls dawn's infusion, preventing anxious leaks from draining reserves. Should tension rise, you will metaphorically open windows, invite fresh circulation, and let worry exit like stale air, replaced by mountain scent. In this way, you live ventilated, mind, body, and spirit sharing one breathable communion. Now the clock nudges forward, yet you move with buoyancy. The echo of wings, perhaps doves circling unseen steeples, hovers in imagination, reminding you that companionship travels beside fluorescent corridors as surely as through cedar groves. You carry fragrance of rain and cedar, intangible yet noticeable to weary souls crossing your path. And when evening brings its own hush, you will pour out what remains back into the hands that first filled you, trusting tomorrow's wind to rise again with precision and grace. You lace your shoes, sensing the supple resilience beneath each sole, and recognize that courage often begins with the quiet resolve to rise from the chair. Dawn's hush still lingers, yet the street outside hums with latent possibility. Breezes tug at branches as though urging leaves to applaud your first stride. You pause on the threshold, noticing how light has shifted since yesterday, a subtle tilt suggesting that this day will ask for new obedience. With lungs still steeped in spirit, given freshness, you answer that summons, placing one foot beyond the doorway and letting the earth receive your intention. Courage, you discover, is rarely thunderous. It manifests in measured cadence, choosing honesty when a polite lie could shield discomfort, greeting the invisible neighbor whose eyes seldom meet yours, gently challenging a harmful joke before laughter fossilizes into cruelty. Each small act stakes ground for goodness, like seeds pressed into soil that will one day sprout justice. You are not performing heroics. You are harmonizing with rhythms heaven has already composed. Even the pace of your footsteps finds a holy tempo, slower than panic yet faster than indifference, enabling attentiveness to the quiet nudge, pause here. Notice the wary face there. Speak blessing into a corridor of tension. Lingering fears hover at the edge of mind, predicting failure or misunderstanding. You feel their chill and greet it with remembered truth, earlier stillness, revealed that divine companionship never fades when noise returns. Anxiety cannot govern strides surrendered at dawn. So you breathe deep, picture courage as warm, current rising from core to collarbones, unclenching shoulders and widening peripheral vision. Each inhale invites fresh assurance. Each exhale releases what-ifs into the open air, where they dissipate like morning mist. You marvel how confidence grows not from certainty of outcome, but from certainty of presence. Mid-morning arrives, and demands multiply. Inbox flashing urgent flags, voices stacking expectations. In this world, courageous steps look like gentle boundaries. Declining the task that would fracture integrity, choosing collaboration over silent resentment. Admitting, I don't know yet, instead of masking doubt. You sense invisible applause every time you protect space for truth, as if unseen witnesses record these decisions in books that outlast memo streams. Momentum builds. The earlier walk has trained reflexes to lean toward goodness without exhausting willpower. because courage now flows like an underground spring, rather than sporadic bursts. By afternoon you notice footprints, not on dusty pavement, but in conversations softened by kindness, in spreadsheets adjusted toward fairness, in whispered prayers you release for strangers during elevator rides. Some prints may wash away unnoticed, yet you trust their impression on eternity. You feel lighter than in days when bravado posed as strength. True bravery tones muscles of compassion, flexibility, and persistence. And if a setback stings, an idea dismissed, a gesture misunderstood, you steady breath and remember dawn's promise. Every surrendered failure can be repurposed into wisdom by nightfall. As shadows lengthen, you survey the distance covered, not measured in kilometers but in fidelity. Streets are the same, yet you walk them transformed, bearing quiet evidence that heavenly rhythm can pulse through errands, meetings, commutes. You return home, shoes dusty, soul awake, whispering gratitude for the guide who choreographed each decisive step. Tomorrow will draft new routes, but courage earned today will greet the sunrise, already stretching eager muscles. You carry dawn's whisper, inner listening, surrendered freedom, spirit breath, and newly forged courage out into the widening morning, like luminescent threads woven through every movement. Praise, then, is not an isolated hymn, but the golden stitching that binds these threads into living tapestry. You begin with simple gratitude for steady heartbeat and clear air, letting appreciation bubble up before any task claims your focus. As kettle warms or elevator rises, you name good gifts, clean water, kind colleagues, resilience learned through past storms. Each acknowledgement is a bead of light strung across your schedule, forming a pathway your soul can follow when shadows stretch. Soon meetings pulse with varied energies, ideas clash, deadlines loom, yet Thanksgiving anchors you. While others spiral into anxiety, you silently bless the room. May creativity flourish here. May respect temper debate. That quiet intercession shifts atmosphere. You witness shoulders relax, solutions surface. Praise becomes invisible architecture, shaping culture, enthroning hope where frustration threatened to reign. Even setbacks provide new opportunities for adoration. If a proposal stalls, you thank God for redirected timing. If an email disappoints, you praise Him for patience under construction. Gratitude loosens control's grip, letting wonder re-enter conversation. Lunchtime breeze brushes your face as you step outside. You notice sunflower heads tilting unashamed toward brilliance, an embodied doxology. You join their posture, tilting soul upward amid traffic rumble, acknowledging Creator with wordless smile. Pedestrians pass unaware of the sacred exchange, yet some catch your peace and soften their pace. Praise ripples outward, unforced, like perfume released by crushed herbs. Whoever inhales may trace sweetness back to its source. Afternoon weariness arrives, caffeine tempts, yet you first sip living reminder. Your strength sustains me. Pausing, you replay morning mercies, letting them echo through tired bones. Praise restores perspective, revealing tasks as ministry, whether monumental or mundane. Spreadsheet columns transform into testimonies of order, dishes into liturgy of service, code lines into psalms of precision. Nothing is secular when Thanksgiving anoints it. toward dusk. You commute through shifting palettes of rose and indigo. Car horns and scooter engines compose rough accompaniment, but your heart supplies melody of gratitude. Red lights become invitations to recall unexpected joys, a supportive message, a shared joke, a problem solved. Each memory fans ember of delight, keeping cynicism at bay. You begin to understand praise as spiritual hygiene, cleansing residue of disappointment before it hardens into bitterness. Home's doorway frames final duties, meals prepared, children tutored, emails answered. But you infuse them with blessing. May this soup nourish dreams. May this correction foster growth. When night hushes house and moon spills silver across floor, you trace the day's thread of gratitude end to end, grateful that no moment proved too ordinary for divine presence. You lay head upon pillow whispering, "Awaken my soul again tomorrow." Trusting sunrise will braid fresh praise into new hours. The cycle continues. Dawn whisper stretches toward everlasting anthem, and you, still human, remain chosen instrument tuned for joy. Take one slow breath. Remember the first light warming your window. Recall the quiet voice guiding each decision. Feel the courage that steadied your stride, and taste the gratitude now lingering like honey on your thoughts. Hold these memories gently. They are proof that awakening is possible at any hour. Let peace settle over your plans. Let kindness guard your conversations. And let hope frame every problem you meet. In this stillness, promise your soul to notice beauty, to answer need, and to return thanks with every heartbeat.